This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Dave Coldwell. Dave, first and foremost, how are you doing?
Do you know what? I'm really good, really, really good. It's just a really good night, really good night. Enjoyed it. It's always a good night when you win, but there's a lot of pressure on that one, and just I just know what it meant for Jordan and the way that he boxed and what he did and how he boxed. He basically did everything that we worked on in the gym, everything that he's been developing, and yeah, it was great. And the spectacle, the event is weird because there's nobody there, but it's still an event because of what they've done with it. They've done a brilliant job with it. It's fantastic.
Let's obviously delve further into last night and obviously Jordan's victory. Just take me back to first, so Dave, kind of how did Jordan feel going into the fight, knowing you mentioned the surroundings is very different to what you will all usually be used to. What was that like for Jordan on his ring walk and what have you?
It was all right. It was a bit, like I said, a bit strange, but we kind of like prepared that it's going to be like sparring, just in a bit plush surroundings. Do you know what I mean? Sparring outside, doing an exhibition or something like that. Uh, but they did it. They did it well. They did it well. I mean, the bits of music during the introductions and stuff like that. Bits of the sounds and stuff like that, make it a bit more dramatic. It was good. But it was very weird. It was very. I'll tell you what was the weirdest thing was when you've won. There's no celebration because there's no crowd, there's no atmosphere, and it's like you just go, "All right, mate. Yeah, well done, mate. Yeah, give you a fight, rug, and you say, all right, mate. All right," and that's it. There's no like, do you know what I mean? Because that was a big win for us. And it was a big win for Jordan. There's a lot in there, but at the end, it was like when you spar, when you finish you finish your last spar of camp, and you go, cheers, mate, nice one, thanks for that, thanks for help. It's that kind of thing. It was kind of like that. It was weird. It was weird.
Let's obviously move on to Jordan's performance last night. Very slick display, very good performance. So given the kind of the past year or so he's had, did he surprise you in any manner? Did he perform better than what you'd have thought? Or
no, it went. I can honestly say it was literally punch perfect for me. Literally, he was under strict orders, exactly what to do, and he did it. He carried it out. And I'm over the moon with him because there are points and there are stages in your career, in a fighter's career. There are fights in his career when you see him coming through where sometimes less is more, and sometimes against certain opponents you have to be a certain way and you have to fight them a certain way where if you give them more opportunities, they can catch in between. Reece Bellotti can punch. He's a dynamite puncher in the division. I don't care how good your chin is, how tough you are, whatever, right? If he catches, Jason Cunningham is a kid that doesn't get stopped, right? He's one of the toughest guys out there. 2 divisions, right? He's operating in about 3 divisions. He's a very, very tough kid. And he got wiped out by Reece Bellotti. That tells you what Reece Bellotti can do. But not only that, Jim McDonald, I've got to say, Jim, after the fight, when we were backstage, we went back to see Reece and Jim and Jimmy Jr. And Jim said, he said, I've got to tell you, and he had a chat with Jordan and myself, and he was saying about, Bellotti. He says, people say, what do they want about Bellotti? He sees regular Bellotti knocking kids out with 16-ounce gloves on an head guard. Says he's a dynamite puncher. Jim sees him as one of the biggest punchers he's ever seen in his career in the sport, and certainly with the fighters that he's worked with, and seen in gyms. And he was saying, you are tough. He surprised him with his toughness because Reece did catch him. He hit him with body shots, hit him with head shots. He did catch him. He says, but and he says that Reece was so fit and so powerful. He says, but yet Jordan was as fit and managed to carry on doing what he wanted to do. And he was very impressed with Jordan's concentration as well as his boxing ability and his skills. So it's really nice coming from Jim McDonnell because he's he's an esteemed trainer, and he's a legend of British boxing, and he knows his shit. And for him to say that to my kid, it was nice. He didn't have to say that. He could have just said, "Oh, well done, mate. You did well, good fight, blah blah." But he didn't, and he emphasised how dangerous Reece was, which emphasised how well Jordan did. Not just in the fact that he evaded it, and he was talking about Jordan's defence and his skill, but the fact that yes, he acknowledged it's not one of these. Oh yeah, but if he'd have caught him, he acknowledged that Reece caught Jordan with some good shots, and he was surprised at how tough Jordan was, and he said that that's going to hold him in instead as he moves up through his career. And this is what I'm saying in fights in your career as you're coming through. There are times when less is more. I didn't want Jordan throwing 3-4 punches at a time. I didn't want him holding his feet, giving him that opportunity. Because another thing that Jim said, this is what Reece understood. No matter what was going to happen in the fight, no matter how well Jordan might be outboxing or doing what he was doing, is that Jordan Gill had to be very good and 100% concentrated and do everything right for 30 minutes in that fight. Reece Bellotti had to be good for 1 second in that fight because he's got that kind of power. And when you're fighting them sort of guys, that's what it is. And that's what I was emphasizing with Jordan, is that he had to stay concentrated all the way through. Doesn't matter what's going on, doesn't matter how much success he's having. Don't get to that point where you think to yourself, you're comfortable, I want to do more. Because then you're giving him opportunities. Somebody that's a big punch that can turn a fight around with one shot. You don't have to wipe you out. They can just take away your legs. They can make the fight a tougher fight because you've held defeat. You've got caught in that one spot by being a little bit greedy. And he didn't. He kept his concentration. He was fantastic. I'm absolutely over the moon with him. I really am.
From the sounds of it, was his level of concentration the thing that pleased you most last night?
Just doing everything that we did in the gym. Everything that we've done in the gym. We've been sparring with Lee Wood. We've done loads of rounds with Lee Wood. Hoping to prepare for just in case, obviously Hopis a southpaw, but just the fact that he's long, tricky, and rangy, and boxing on the move. So Jordan's having to go forward just in case Reece wanted to box and be a little bit cleverer, just to throw things in. Just when Jordan might be a bit tired as the rounds go on, then to make him have to be concentrated and not get caught with silly little shots. So I mix that in, and then the last two spars, the last 2 10-round spars that we did, were with Leon Woodstock, which were priceless because they were a carbon copy basically of what Bellotti was going to be, and that was very valuable. That like I said, the sparring with all three of them was fantastic. But Lee Wood did a lot of work with us, and that was brilliant. And then Leon for the last 2 to freshen it up, give you that butterflies, no music in the gym, making it completely sterile, trying to mimic what was going to happen on fight camp, and that was priceless. The work there. So the guys, in sparring were fantastic, really were. But for Jordan, everything that he was doing in those spars and we were working on in those spars, he did everything on fight night. And for me as a coach, I love that. He did it with Ryan Doyle, the exact same. What we worked on with the Doyle fight, he went out there and he did the exact same thing. He does do that quite consistently. And that one, with the pressure that he had on him, with the illnesses, with the loss to Tinoco, the first big real fight against a big dangerous fighter, you've got people saying that he's going to get crippled by body shots off a Bellotti and all this sort of stuff. With all that pressure going in and the first fight at fight camp, with the surroundings and everything, I think he held it together fantastically. His mental fortitude was brilliant.
They have word on the cards as well, obviously 97, 93 twice, and then 96, 95. How did you score it? Was you surprised by the 96, 95?
Yeah, I was, yeah. But it's opinions. Listen, I'm gonna bitch and moan about it. We won. It is what it is. Now it's done. We've got the right decisions being made. We've moved on. Nobody's gonna in history look at, oh, Jordan Gill only beat him by 1 point. If they do, they're reading into it something, you know, that's not right. Sometimes I just wonder. I just think, oh, where? This is why I say about judges with they have an opinion. We have an opinion. You have an opinion as a journalist, as you know. We have opinions as coaches, as pundits, or whatever. When you're a judge, for the fans, especially if it's very, very, oh, hang on a minute, how would you see that? You should have to explain or make a note, little notes. Well, you know, I thought this happened. I thought that happened. But I can't see how that was a one round fight. No way. But it's opinions, and listen, they're human. They're not going to get everything right, but I thought it was a shit scorecard.
Very early stages as of yet, obviously, Dave. But on the back of last night, Jordan with a convincing victory against a high-level British opponent.
Mm-hmm.
What next for him? Is it an immediate kind of step up? I know we've got to wait to see how the coming months play out, of course. But...
Yeah. Well, we were told that he would fight again. This is before this fight. If you come through Bellotti, you'll fight again before the end of the year, and it'll be a title fight. It was a little bit gutted that with that, it being a 10-rounder at championship weight, it didn't get made as a title fight. It would have been nice to have a title on the line, but it is what it is. It doesn't devalue the fight, you know, and the win. But we've been after before the Tinoco fight. The Tinoco fight derailed it a little bit. The illness derailed it especially. But we've been after that European title fight. Jordan wants the European title, and he's been after that for a long while. So we want the European title, and we'll see where we go from there. But it's a case of is at this level now. Keep at this level, slight increments in, stepping up levels, and then next year have a good push. He's 26 years old, is only improving, and now got rid of a lot of demons in that one. The illness was a big thing, because the whole thing when I spoke to Eddie about him coming back, originally was just gonna have a little 6-rounder, because I wanted to see how his body was going to react after the illness, not after the defeat. That was gone. After the illness, how was he going to be? Because it was a serious illness. It was an illness that we were worried about him never fighting again. So it's one thing we seen him operating in the gym and training and sparring and things like that. But once you've made a weight and then you've took your body to that weight, and then you refuel or whatever. I don't know how his body's going to react. You don't know, because it's the first time, really. Well, it is the first time since he was ill. And when you're talking about your thyroid and things like that, you don't know how you're going to react. So that was always my worry, and that was Jordan always wanted to go straight back in. He was always wanting to go straight back in. It was me that was always saying, no, let's have a fight back. Just be a bit patient. Have a fight back, and then we'll go in December, or October, December, whatever, and go with a real fight, a Bellotti type fight. But then he, the work that we've put in after his illness, and we start coming back, I could see that he's improved technically, and mentally he's improved. So when Eddie spoke about this fight camp, and Jordan's still on about he's confident, he wants a real fight. Eddie was talking about along the lines of like a Sean Davis, something like that. He was happy to give us a fight like that. But I thought, you know what? I've got X amount of time to work on him even more. Let's do Bellotti. I thought that'd be a great fight, because that's the fight that we was talking about a year ago. So it made sense to make it now, and then you come through that, you're leapfrogging rather than kind of treading water. Still, you're leapfrogging again. You're going back to the point where you were. If you put on a performance that I believe that he could do, and he has done.
Dave, I only want to touch on one other fight from last night because otherwise I am wary of your time. That headline fight, Eggington-Cheeseman, one which I'm sure will be up for the British Fight of the Year. Just what was your thoughts on it, Dave?
Brilliant. Do you know what? Brilliant. I thought it's one of those things where both guys just showed just how tough they are, how ballsy they are. Fucking hell. I mean, I watched it. I got in. I watched that. It was probably about 3 o'clock by the time that came on. Cause we were catching up when I got in. It was about 3 a.m. and I'm watching it as a fan because I don't know results. I've made sure that, I don't know results anyway. So I'm watching it as a fan basically, and I just felt it was great because we get to see it as viewers. But I kind of felt sorry for them that there wasn't a crowd because they would have buzzed more with a crowd, obviously. But we can't have a crowd, so it is what it is. But the fight was brilliant. I mean, they've got some balls, them two, and they consistently show the toughness and everything. And it was a brilliant fight. It really was a great fight.
I know we mentioned those Jordan scorecards earlier. I know over social media, John Pegg in particular he's pointed out that he wasn't happy with kind of some of the scoring from the Sky pundits. How did you actually score the fight yourself, Dave?
At 3 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't really scoring it. I was watching it as a fan. And, to be honest, because I was gonna stay for the rest of the show and then drive back home. But when I've had a fighter on, I'll be honest with you, my mind's just floating. If I've got beat, then I just want to go home. I just want to go home and that's it. But also, in my head, you've won. You want to be around. You want to watch the rest of the show. I wanted to see the rest of the show, but I remember I was sat there and I was watching back. I was just thinking about this. I'm thinking about the next moves. I can't switch off, and so I'm sat there. I'm thinking. It got to about 9:15, I think it was. I watched Fabio's fight, and I looked at my watch and I thought, do you know what? If I wait till the end of the night, then I'm driving home. It's going to be really, really late. I want to spend the day with my kids and my missus. I want to have a day before I go back down again tomorrow. I thought, if I shoot back now, get to the hotel, pack, blah, blah, I can get back by a decent time. And then I've got a full day here. So I thought, fuck it, I'll go. So when I got in and I'm watching it at that time in the morning, at 3 a.m, I'm watching it, but I'm just watching it as a fan. So I wasn't really scoring it, but I had the impression that Sam got off to a slow start, and I think maybe that might have costed him. But I thought I did think it was close, and I'm not saying that I thought that Sam lost it. It was a fight that I thought. I kind of thought to myself, I wonder if it's going to be a draw. But again, I weren't scoring it. I was watching it as a fan that were just like seeing shots bouncing off each other and go, fucking hell, what? Do you know what I mean? And that's 3 o'clock in the morning, watching it, on my own, like some lunatic. So especially when there's no fans, because a lot of times when you're watching fights, exciting fights, even though you're sat at home, because of the crowd atmosphere, that gets you as well. But there was no crowd atmosphere, but the fight was that good that it had me like a lunatic as well. Do you know what I mean? So, and I'll tell you what else was a good fight as well. And I mean this in the best possible way, but what a tough bastard, Gavin Gwynn. Oh my God, because Tennyson waxed, and how relentless was he? Non-stop throwing power punches, body, head, and then Gwynn would be coming back with his own body shots, and it was like, this is a fight. But then it was just that accumulation, and he got caught on top of the head. It was a great performance from Tennyson. But I've got to say, Gavin Gwynn, wow, those three kids there, Gavin Gwynn, Eggington, and Cheeseman, are tougher there, because I look at that and I just think to myself, fucking hell, you've got to be made of some sort of serious iron to be able to do that sort of stuff.
100%, Dave. Some of the performances, with regards to Hart last night, was just, he was on another level. It was brilliant. There was some brilliant fights on. Just to come away from Ricardo, obviously, you have to head back down tomorrow. Any update on Hopis' opponent as of yet?
Yeah. So we've got, I think it's Johnny Phillips. Listen, he's dangerous. He knocked out Eubank's brother, Nathaniel Wilson, is it, or something? His name
Okay.
is. And that was up at like 140, 142, I think it was 142, 143, I think it was. He's fought Stephen Smith at 140. He's a bigger kid, but it come to the point where we couldn't get it. They've tried. They've sent me the list of the fighters. They've tried so many fighters. I've even tried for Ashley Lane, people like, so we've tried quality fighters. You know, I'm not saying you're just trying to protect them. We've tried for some decent fighters. You know, we was going to give weight away to Sean Davis. You know, but money kept going up, and then what it turned out to be was that they finally said yeah, but then I don't think he could get the time off work. So we've tried to get other people, and then they come with Johnny Phillips, and yes, he's dangerous. He's a firecracker. He's got a great right hand. He's got a good left hook, and he comes to win. So this is a real live fight for a third fight. And it's it's like Eddie even said, we wouldn't under normal circumstances take that, but it's a case of do you want him to fight or not? You know, it's got to the point where it's either that or nothing really. And Hopey straight away was, he's the kind of kid that the better, and it's the same with sparring, the better the level of opposition is, he switches on more and he raises his game. So it's a real fight, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to give the butt fight. It's not just a case of Opie having a run out. He's got a real fight. You know, he's the kid's operating at heavier weights. You know, he's boxed from 9'2" to 10 stone 2. So you know, we'll see, and Hope he is a super bantamweight. He could have weighed 8 stone 12 for this. This is what it was going to weigh, and then we said, okay, 9 stone, because it opens up the ability, you know, because there's no foreigners, so it's British. You have to open it up, so you've got more options for opponents. But it's not really made any difference. There's not been many opponents that we can get to take the fight.
Obviously, with this only being Hopey's third fight, and you've got such unusual circumstances and kind of surroundings, how key do you think your actual experience from this past week with Jordan could play for Hopey?
Yeah, quite a bit. Like, you know, just little things. You know, to be fair, he's probably the most well equipped for this, because mentally, I said this to Jordan. He's probably the coolest kid mentally towards sparring, towards fighting, that I've ever come across or ever worked with since George Groves. I've always said George Groves is the coolest customer in boxing that I've ever put in. The biggest pressures, whatever, doesn't matter. He's sparring, if he's sparring with a cruiserweight, when he sparred with like Fragomeni and people like that. You know, it doesn't matter who he's going in with. It doesn't matter who he's fighting with. He got ice through his veins. This kid's like that, you know. It's like with Saudi, with the whole situation with Saudi. You're on, you're off, you're on, you're off, gloves off, gloves on. It's like, yeah, all right, yeah, cool, no problem. And then, yeah, we're on, right, okay, switched on. You know, it's like when people switch sparring and you're expecting somebody, and then next minute you've got an unbeaten kid that rocks up through the door and he's like, oh, okay, man, he's a weight above and he's unbeaten in 15 fights. Oh, okay, no problem. Gets on with it, just does his shit. And his mentality is fantastic. So his experience with going and boxing in strange places, no crowds, you know, in Russia or whatever he's been to in the amateurs and stuff. So I think he will handle that situation great. And having spent a couple of weeks with him out in Saudi Arabia, I know how he is, and it's cool as anything. So it's not the occasion that I've got anything to worry about. It's just the opponent. I just have, it's like as anything, I take the opponents 100% seriously. It depends, doesn't matter if they've been beat before or not. Take them 100% seriously. See them as a threat, and prepare it accordingly. And that's what we'll do in this one.
Dave, we'll leave that there now. Then I will leave you to enjoy the rest of your day, what's left of it.
Cheers, mate.
Dave, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you. Obviously, best of luck with the next week as well, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, mate. Now, can I just say as well before I go? Can I just say, Reece Bellotti, he got beat last night, right? But I've got to say, you can see he's improving as a fighter, right? When people say about these fighters and they're getting beat, I said this about with Jordan when Eddie came out and said something about, oh, it's a must-win, or where they're going to go with the careers and stuff like that, right? There's this perception where if you lose a couple of fights, you're finished, you're done. The kid's not 30 yet. He's 29 years old, right? He's only had 18 fights. He's still learning. If you go back, you'll look at, there's some fighters, you look at the records, 18-0 and things like that. They've not fought anyone with winning records yet and stuff, So Reece, I can say it's different if he's not improving as a fighter, and you see, but he's getting better with each fight. And last night he was more patient. He was thinking about things a lot more. It's just, listen, Jordan's a very, very good kid, and I've said this a long time. On a talent level, and when he starts understanding how good he is, this kid's brilliant. And he boxed exactly to plan, and he did exactly what I want him to do, and that nullified Reece, and that took away what Reece was doing. But what Reece was doing himself showed me he's improving. So I don't. Listen, if he wants to walk away and say that he's had enough of the game, 100% fair enough. But don't retire and don't quit. And this isn't just to Reece. This is to anybody that gets beat. And when people say, "Oh, you're finished now. That's it. Oh, that's it." Right? Don't retire because other people's opinions think, "Oh, well, where are you going to go now?" Right? You're only two wins away from a big fight. Look at Sam Eggington. Sam Eggington, when he got beat off, was it Liam Smith? When he got beat off Liam Smith, he's come back. When he come back and he's had a couple of wins and he's back in. A couple of wins away from the big crowds and big TV and stuff like that. Then he's back in. You don't. Loads of fighters in it. Chisora, loads of fighters. But what I'm saying is, if it's time for you, fair enough. And then you're not going to come back in 18 months' time when you could have been building and carrying on, and you've let yourself start rotting away as a fighter, and then you come back 18 months' time later. Well, I never got it out of my system, but everyone thought I should have retired, and people's opinions on Twitter and people, saying, oh, because I've lost 4 fights now, I'm never going to make it, But if you think it's time, retire. But if you're improving in the gym, and if your team, Jimmy Senior and Junior, I'll tell him whether they think what he's got left. But from the outside, look at him, it looks like he's improving. So I and with style and his power, and as he's improving, it's still an headache for any fighter in that division. So it can still do things in the division. So I just want to I give him loads of respect. I don't say a lot about fighters before we fight him, but he's a very good fighter. He's a lovely kid, and he punches like fuck. But he's improving. So I still see the scope for him if he chooses to, and if his team thinks he should. But these people that are saying, oh, when you get beat, and that's it, oh, that were a crossroads fight, you got nowhere to go now. It depends what your mentality is. If you're willing to maybe take a step back, to take a couple steps back, to take a huge step forward or something like that, then you've still got a career in there, Just get a couple of wins under your belt, build your confidence back up, and you go again.
It's very well put there, Dave. And obviously, we'll leave that there now. It's been
all right, mate.
We appreciate your time. And as I say, best of luck for the coming week. Thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thanks, mate.